Hi. Okay, so I have been really wanting to do another reading vlog. I just finished doing one for my patrons, and that was for like our exclusive book club of the month or whatever thing for June. And I post a poll every month, and my patrons vote, and they tell me which book to read, and then I read that book, and I do a big spoiler-filled vlog. So I just did that one, and I realized I hadn't actually done a vlog for my actual channel in a while. So that's what we're doing today. I am in the car. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult for me to read in the car because, I don't know, it's just out in public, obviously. So, yeah. But I've been doing a little bit better recently, so I think this is a good time to see if I can do an actual reading vlog and have it be normal. We are really close to the 4th of July, and as you can see, I have these two lovely little baby boys. They get very antsy when they hear fireworks, like Tibby, the one in the back especially. I guess you can't even actually see Tibby because he's against the door, but really afraid of fireworks, and so when he hears them he like just gets terrified, and that's not really great when we're in the car, obviously. So we are getting a hotel for the night, so we're gonna be in a hotel, so part of this vlog may be filmed indoors but we're starting it out here, and yeah. All right, so I'm Cassie. Welcome to another reading vlog. Okay, so for this one, I actually have a little theme. It's a loose theme. I am looking through my Kindle, and I am going to be reading 4 books with water on the cover. It's like June, July, so I feel like that's a good theme for June, July. It is so hot here right now that I wish I were at the beach or like in a pool or something. It would be a lot better than in a car. So I'm gonna like live vicariously and read a book about people who are either in the water or, I don't know, near the water. I'm not really sure how big of a role the water's gonna play in these books. I'm just picking them based off the cover. I'll put them up right here over the pup, sorry. So as you can see, all of these have blue-ish covers and water. I don't know what these are about. I mean, a couple of them I have like a little bit of knowledge just because I, own them. But I don't know too much about any of them. So I'm going to just name them now and then start the reading vlog. I think I'm going to start with Something in the Water, and see where that goes. I'll talk more about each book when I'm reading them. Okay, so it's been a little bit. I have my little Kindle here. I have it closed, so I don't know why I'm holding it up. Let's pop the book up. So I am starting with Something in the Water by Catherine Steadman. So far, okay, I'm gonna tell you the first chapter pulled me in because it was really intriguing. There's this woman digging a grave, and then at the end of the chapter you kind of figure out whose grave it is, and I was sucked in immediately by that. Unfortunately, it lost me pretty soon after, and I'm still lost. I'm a little bit over halfway into the book, and I don't think I like it. This is my first book by the author, so I don't know if maybe just this is not my jam, but I don't like any of the characters. I like actively dislike the characters. So, okay. I got a little ahead of myself because of how much I'm disliking this, but so far, this is about a couple, and they are going on their honeymoon to Bora Bora, and they discover something in the water, and it leads to shenanigans of some sort, like dangerous things. I don't know. This is supposed to be a thriller. I think a main thing that I'm having a problem with is that the romance is not believable. Like, the main character is this woman who's supposedly like completely head over heels in love with her husband, and I don't understand why. Like, he's awful, like genuinely awful. And there are moments where he's like mean, and I hate him. I hate him. I can't stand him. And honestly, both of them are very like privileged. Like, it's not my favorite thing to read about, these kinds of people, and I'm not enjoying this. I'm sorry. I don't know. This doesn't have very high ratings on Goodreads. I looked at that after, so I'm probably not alone. I don't really want to like spoil anything or give too much away, but I don't consider this a spoiler. So one of the big bad things that's happening to this couple is that the husband lost his job, and that does suck. Like, people lose their jobs and it sucks, but the way they're treating it and like the way that he's speaking to her because of it, I am not okay with. And she's just like bending over backwards doing all this stuff to try to alleviate his stress, and he's just a big asshole. Like, I can't stand him. And he just does not care that he's doing all these things that are making her feel bad, and intentionally like changing plans behind her back and stuff and keeping secrets. And it's just, he's so untrustworthy so far. Like, there are no redeeming qualities to this guy. So I don't know. And the story is supposed to be about like their romance and like the trouble they're getting into because of something they're finding on their honeymoon. And I just do not care right now. I'm sorry to say, but I'm gonna continue. Maybe it turns around, maybe there's a twist. I do tend to love twists, so maybe the twist is that they're not both insufferable, and there's a good thing that happens to make me like this. I don't know. I don't know. I guess I'm gonna keep reading and seeing. It's only been a couple of hours. It's been like an hour and a half. I am getting through this very quickly. So I will say that it's like, it's very fast paced, and it has good like summery vibes so far. Especially like now that they're like in their hotel, like kind of like doing their thing on their honeymoon. It does feel very, very fitting for how hot it is outside. So we're gonna see where this goes. Okay, I finished this. So far, this reading vlog is not off to a super great start because I think I'm gonna have to give this 2 stars, maybe 2.5. I don't know. Remember how I said like maybe there would be something to redeem them or like make them not insufferable? That never happened. They remained insufferable. They were awful. In fact, they got worse. Like, I don't know. I could not stand them, and it made me not care about the stuff that was happening like at all. So I don't even know what to say because I don't want to be mean, and I've watched other videos where people really enjoyed this one. What I knew about this one before going into it was that people really liked it. People I thought I had things in common with. So I don't know if I'm just like really off base or what's happening here. I did not like this. So I don't know who I could recommend this to. That's not true. If you're somebody who like doesn't like very serious thrillers, like you like things that are kind of like silly, convenient, I think you might like this. I don't like that, so this was not for me. Also, if you don't mind reading about like very privileged people who become terrible the second they run into any kind of like bump in the road or like have to deal with anything like us meager peons down here and like what the real world have to deal with, I don't know. I don't know. Okay, let's just move on. Yeah. That took me like 3.5, I think, hours to read. So I think I'm going to try to start another one. Okay, so I think I'm actually going to read the more horror-y one that's on this list. So I'm gonna go with the deep now, I think. I've read one other book. It's called The Troop, I think, by the same author. And I really like that one. I remember it being like very gross and like kind of gory and like just the descriptions were really, really yucky, which was a good thing. I liked it. So I'm hoping that I'm gonna get something like that. I do really love stories and media set in the ocean. This one is about a guy who is going under the ocean into like the Challenger Deep, and he is going to be helping his brother or something because like humanity's got like a sickness and the cure is like down deep and his brother's down there. So I don't know a lot more about that than this so far. It has like a blurb by Stephen King on the cover, so I'm expecting it to be pretty horrifying. Let's see. Hello. Okay. God, it is so freaking hot out. Let's see if I can make the camera. Sorry, I'm really close because I'm in my car, obviously, so I'm gonna try to fit the book over here somewhere next to my big head. Yeah, so I am about 100 pages, I think, into the deep right now. I'm really liking it. I don't really care for any of the characters so far. I'm like the main character. I do kind of like, okay, let me go back. So I think what I said about this one before was that they were going down because there was like this thing that humanity had, and that was true. Am I crooked? I'm very crooked, I think. Okay, that's better. Right? Is that better? I think that's better. Okay. So our main character has a brother. I was right about that. And his brother is actually like the super smart person who is trying to find a cure or he's trying to find a cure for this like disease that humanity started getting, and it's called the Gets. And at first you like get these spots and stuff all over you, and then they start like leaking pus, and then you start forgetting everything. So it's like dementia or like Alzheimer's or something, but like to an extreme degree, to where eventually I think you just forget how to breathe, or your body forgets how to operate, and you die. So it's pretty severe, and it's affecting so many people, like old people, young people, children, like everybody. And their only chance at like a cure is at the bottom of the ocean, where there was like this thing that was discovered, and the main character's brother was sent down there to, I don't really know. They haven't explained too much about that so far. I'm not really sure. Like somehow they're going down there and they're going to get something and then bring it up, and it's going to save people. I don't know how. We'll find out. I do like this one so far. I will say there are a lot of like these weird dream sequences and like backstory bits about his like childhood that I don't know are, I mean, at least at this point, I don't feel are super necessary. Maybe they'll come into play later, but right now it just feels like a bunch of information for the sake of giving me information from his childhood and about what it was like for him growing up. The descriptions are very gross. So I've read one other book by this author, and I remember the descriptions of like gross stuff being like one of the standout things to me, and this one has that a lot so far. So I'm really loving it. I am really loving it. But again, it is so freaking hot. So I think I'm gonna stop reading because my iPad gets really hot. And maybe just like try to cool down a bit. I don't know, we'll see. I might check back in later if I continue to read, but oh yeah, I don't know, I'm warm. I will say this one's actually like pretty creepy. It feels at this point though, like it could be set in space also. Like, I don't know, there's nothing specifically underwater. Like there was the whole like journey down in like a sub, which by the way, reading that scene after the recent stuff that happened with like that sub and stuff to the Titanic, that was really weird. Like that was kind of like a jarring experience. But yeah, other than that, like now that they're actually in the station and stuff, there isn't really anything that makes this feel like it's underwater more than it could feel like it's in space or, you know, like on a different planet. Like it feels very sci-fi to me, I think is what I'm trying to say so far. So yeah, I'm loving it. It's fun. I don't like the characters, which, I mean, to give something a 5-star, I think I probably would want to like the characters as well as just enjoy my time reading, but I am enjoying my time reading, so okay, I'll check back in later. Hello. Okay, so I have been reading a little bit. I have not been updating as much as I should have been. Whoops. Obviously we are in the hotel since my last update, so I finished The Deep. I did like it. I think I will give it 4 stars. There was a lot of stuff in it that I don't know if it was completely necessary to the actual story, but it was fun to read, and there was a lot of like really gross kind of like descriptions and stuff that I really liked, so I don't know, I liked it. I do get what some people have said about like just some of the backstory and stuff not being really like needed, but I still liked it and I had fun, so. I just recorded an entire check-in and only to realize that I hadn't actually hit record on my phone, so. Where do I even start? I was going on for so long. Ugh, this is a nightmare. This is truly a nightmare. All right, so I am like, I don't know, 3/4 of the way through Deep Water, and backtrack a little bit because I didn't check in when I started it, I forgot. I finished The Deep. I think I already checked in that part because I started reading the other one like right after that. And I really like The Deep, in case I didn't say that, but this so far, this is not it for me. First of all, I don't know why I have this random chair here. So first of all, this one is supposed to be similar to The Ruins. Like all of the marketing for it, the like little blurbs and stuff on it, everything says it's like The Ruins. And I don't know if you've watched the movie, I don't know if you've read the book, but it's pretty horrific. Like there's a lot that goes on. There's even stuff that's like not in the movie that's in the book. But either way, like they're pretty horrifying, both of them, both versions. This is not. This is nothing like that. It is at all nothing. Like, I honestly want to have a conversation with the person in their marketing department who decided to compare this to that and ask them why. What were you thinking? This is not like that. This is so boring. This is, okay. again, because I didn't do a check-in when I was starting this because I forgot. So let's just go back a little bit. This is about a couple who decide to sell all their belongings and sell their house or whatever and buy a boat. And they're gonna go like live an adventurous fun life. It's basically like they're doing like van life, but they're doing it in a boat on the ocean. So they're at this pier place, dock, whatever, marina, I don't know. I'm not a boat person. And also because I'm not a boat person, so much of this is just lost on me. Like it is over my head. There's so much nautical information. There is so much sailing information. I don't care. If you told me in the dust jacket that there was gonna be this much information about sailing a goddamn ship, hard pass. I would have immediately skipped it. There's nothing in that for me. No. You know what? The ocean is dangerous. You should not go onto the ocean and just expect to have a nice, fantastic vacation life. Like statistically, bad things will happen to you. Like, it's just, there are so many things that could go wrong and so many bad things that could happen. And yet this couple is fine so far. Like, I don't know, dude. I don't know how this can both be boring and like there's so much happening that just doesn't matter at the same time. Like, it's wild. Okay, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent because I just don't like this so far, and I'm almost finished with it, so I am gonna finish it, but it's not giving the ruins, that's for sure. Okay, so they're on this trip. Before they leave for this trip, actually, they're like, we're gonna be sailing to Thailand, we're gonna be doing like fantastic vacation stuff, whatever, living the life. Well, there's this old dude, and they don't even like this old dude. He's just like an annoying old guy that comes up to them and talks to them all the time while they're working on the ship and having dinner and like all other stuff. And he tells them, I know about this amazing, amazing island, and it's like so great. People don't really know about it, but it's so great. And it's like completely like vacant, and there's just like beautiful scenery, and you won't be bothered and you won't be disturbed. And I used to go there, but I don't go there anymore, and you guys should definitely check it out. And this couple, they're like, I know we already had a plan, but yes, let's do that. So he's made it clear that it's very far from them, and also that there's like no police, there's no hospital, there's no people, there's no civilization on this island. It's basically just like an abandoned island where something mysterious happened in the past that they don't really know about yet. So, okay, sure, like this fun-loving couple, like they've recently gotten married, they're into this whole adventure thing. All right, maybe they're gonna throw their plans to the wind and go to this random place that a man they don't even like told them to go to. Sure, whatever, let's suspend our disbelief for that. So there's like this port location, like partway between where they are and where they're trying to go. And they stop there for like supplies and stuff and paperwork, I don't know. While they're there, they meet a couple of questionable characters that are so very clearly questionable. And yet the main character, this naive, horrible woman, is like, wow, new friends? Are we like best friends now? Did we just become best friends? Like, it is so ridiculous. It's so silly. The main character is so naive. She's so, I cannot stand her. I also, okay, so there are a couple of pet peeves that I have in thrillers specifically that this book is touching on. So first of all, I hate when there's a married couple that have zero chemistry and the woman is constantly like doting and like trying to alleviate every concern her partner has while he does nothing like back for her. It's so frustrating to me. I cannot stand it. It makes me so mad to read. And this woman's like that. Like, she has like a lot of money from like an inheritance or something, and her husband does not. He's not like well off. And so she's constantly trying to like stroke his ego and make him feel better about the fact that she has more money than him. Who cares? You're married. Like, you're going on this vacation together. You're gonna live on the boat together. Who cares who pays for more of the boat? Like, it's just, it's so silly. And she's constantly like, oh, it's okay. Like, oh, I know that I had to be careful and not mention certain things, like the places that I went to when I vacationed in France as a child and all this other stuff. And I'm just like, why? Like, you married this guy that you can't even talk to about your like past vacations as a child? Like, that's weird. Like, I also just really cannot stand very naive main characters. Like, they're always in thrillers, there are these like women characters, and I don't know why they're always written this way because it's so frustrating to me. But the woman is like walking through the day, like not knowing what the fuck's going around her. Like, there's clear stuff and like hints and evidence and things in front of her, and she's just not connecting the dots. Like, she's, in fact, like, it's not even that she's just not connecting the dots, she's willfully, it seems, not connecting them. Like, she's like got all the dots in front of her, and she just takes her hand and she's like, whoosh, no. I'm like, why? You can, Like, the answers are all there. Like, just do the homework. I don't know. It makes me so frustrated. And I don't know, I just, so far, like, everything that's happened here, I do not care. It does not matter. They met these people on the island, and then, okay, so going back to the shady couple that they met on that, like, little port place, they're like, oh, we're going to this fantastic paradise. I'm like, do you want to come? You don't meet strangers like that and just invite them with you. That's unsafe. That is so unsafe. Like, and I'm sure there are people out there that are like, Cassie, how do you make friends then? I don't. It's not safe. Yeah, really though, okay, like, being serious, it's just, there's so many things that they do that just don't make sense and that are unsafe, and it's just like, if you had any, like, the slightest bit of common sense, you wouldn't be doing this. So I don't like reading books about people who lack common sense. Like, that's boring to me. Like, I can't relate to it. I can't even, like, be entertained by it because it's so silly. Like, it's so silly. And that's what's happening here, and I'm just not enjoying it. And it sucks because the premise to this one, it sounded so interesting, especially that comparison to the ruins, which so far I've not gotten. I don't know. Okay, maybe there's going to be something in the last quarter of this book that blows me away. I know when I read Daisy Darker a few months ago, I completely hated the first, like, 250 pages of that, and then I got to, like, the ending part, like, something is revealed, and I was like, what? And that made me like everything else so much more. And that happens sometimes. Like, it might be silly. I just love a good twist. Maybe that's gonna happen here. But as it is, it doesn't feel like I'm being led up to a twist. It feels like they're telling me very clearly who the bad guy is and what he's trying to do. And the main characters are just intentionally ignoring it and even going so far as to make excuses for him. I don't know. We're gonna see how this goes. I'm gonna read the last quarter. It's probably gonna take like an hour or so, and I will check back in after that. Yeah. Okay, I finished it. That was so disappointing. I don't even know what else to say that I didn't already say, because everything still applies. There was nothing that came at the end that made me change my mind. In fact, I was even more annoyed because there was nothing, like nothing to explain why the main character was so awful. Like, I just don't get it. Like, how can you not be frustrated to just write a completely inept character? Like, is that not boring? Is that not frustrating to write? Like, somebody who just blunders through everything, not getting anything right, making wrong decision after wrong decision, and not in a fun, entertaining way, like just in a, what are you doing kind of way? Like, I'm not happy with that book. I'm just gonna say that. 2 stars. Let's move on. I am going to be reading The Soulmate next, and just because of how some of the books so far have gone, I mean, this is gonna be my 4th book, and I've only liked 1 of them up till now, so fingers crossed this doesn't suck. It's probably not very entertaining to watch a video where I'm just hating on the things that I'm reading, and I'm sorry to be negative, but I am just really not enjoying these. And if I stop now, then all of the time I've taken up till this point was for nothing, and I could have just DNF'd that book. But I didn't, because I wanted to finish this. So we're gonna suffer together. I'm gonna be reading The Soulmate next. I only know a little bit about this one. I think it has to do with a woman and a man who move into this place, and there are like these rocks nearby that people try to kill themselves on, like all the time. Like, they try to jump off and just like end their own lives. And I guess the husband stops a lot of them from doing that. I don't know if he's like a therapist or something. I, in case you haven't been able to tell, like to go into books not knowing too much about them. So yeah. But apparently there's like a woman who the wife sees, and then she's like dead the next day, or the guy's like, there was no woman, or I don't know. Again, I don't know too much about it. So I will try to remember to check in a little bit before I'm almost done, because with the last book, I was honestly in disbelief that it just stayed so bad that I was like, surely something's gonna happen that I'm gonna like, so I can check in and say something good. But that was just me being optimistic, I guess. Yeah, okay, so we're gonna be reading The Soulmate next. I am going to be starting that one, and I will check in after. And honestly, again, I really hope this goes well, because this is my 4th and final book, and so far I have disliked 2 of the other 3 that I've read. So fingers crossed. Hello. Okay, so I got paint on my hoodie. I'm gonna have to do laundry again. Okay, so it is the next day, the next morning actually. It's like 11 a.m. right now. I'm about halfway through the Soulmate. So far I'm actually liking it a bit more than I expected, just considering how this is going up until this point. I know I didn't really say what it was about before because I didn't super know, but I think I have a better idea now. So this is about a woman, Pippa, and her husband, Gabe, and they moved into this kind of like big, fancy, pretty house, and it's right on this cliff, and the cliff has like a steep drop into some rocks, and they have two little daughters. They're very cute. They always warn their daughters like not to go too close to the cliff because you can fall. And for as long as they've lived there, there have been people that come to this specific point, like on their property, and try to kill themselves. It's a really big place for people who just want to like jump to their death, I guess. I don't really know why, because it seems like there's a lot of other cliffy places around here, but specifically this point is very popular. And Gabe, the husband in the house, he's actually been able to talk these people down. So there have been like 7 people or something, and like over the last, I don't know, year or 2 years, whatever. And every time they see somebody go there, he goes outside and he talks to them for a little bit, and he's able to like talk them literally off of the ledge. He feels like this is like his purpose, and his wife is like so obsessed with him. And normally, I've said this before, but in books, I don't super like when the woman is like completely obsessed with like the dude, especially when there's no reason to be. Like, if you're giving me like a very funny, clever, like smart sort of character, fine. But if you're giving me like basic oatmeal and expecting me to believe that this woman's completely head over heels in love with him, like, why? I just don't get it. There's a little tiny bit of that here, but there's also like pretty good descriptions and pretty good like pretty fully developed characters, including the dude. So I'm actually like pretty pleased with that in this one, especially in comparison to some of the other ones I've been reading recently. So yeah. All of that is backstory. So the beginning of the story is that Pippa, Gabe, and their 2 daughters are inside their house, and they're like doing normal everyday shenanigans, whatever. And one of the little girls sees a woman out by the ledge, and she's like, "Daddy, Mommy, like there's a person out there. There's a woman out there." And immediately Gabe goes out to her. And from inside, where Pippa usually stays, she can kind of like watch the whole thing. So she sees him go out there. She sees him talking to a woman from like very far away. She can't recognize anything about her. And she sees something strange. Like, it kind of looks like his hands are like pushed out when the woman falls, because she does fall or jump, I guess. You don't really know. Like, that's the whole mystery. Or like, okay, so just to say this, I wouldn't call this one a thriller. I think anybody who marketed it as such is wrong. It's definitely more of like a domestic drama. Maybe I would categorize it as a mystery. I think one of the only reasons this is kind of pushed as a thriller is because there are twists. I'm only like halfway, maybe 3/4 of the way through this. No, I think definitely halfway. And there have already been a couple of twists that I wasn't expecting, like really small things. But that said, twists don't necessarily make a thriller. And I'm not going to go into like what makes a thriller, what doesn't, because I guess that's probably subjective. So take this with a grain of salt. But for me, domestic disputes and like trouble between 2 married people doesn't really equal thriller to me, or thrilling. I'm not thrilled. Obviously, there is a death. The woman falls off the cliff, and they have to figure out like, who was she? Did Gabe know her? Pippa's very suspicious because of what she saw. The police are investigating it, and then like as you go, it kind of unravels a little bit at a time, and you figure out who the woman was, what her connection to people are, who's lying, who's not lying. But the way that it's revealed is like piece by piece, kind of in reverse. Like, they'll lead up to something and be like, wow, it could be this, and you're thinking one thing, and then the next chapter, or actually like at the chapter end, it'll be like, oh, but then there was this one thing that everybody knows except the reader. And now the reader's like, what the fuck? That happened to me a couple of times. And because of that, it's been like a fun reading experience for me. I do really like the daughters as well. Like, as I've said before, like sometimes I don't feel the writers are fully developing the characters they have in like longer fiction. If it's like a short story, if it's like a novella, whatever, I'm not expecting too much. But if it's like a long book, I expect there to be development, or at least like enough of a personality for me to be able to easily distinguish each character from each other. And I struggle with that a lot in books, especially with a bigger cast of characters, because sometimes they're just written so similarly that it's like, why didn't you just combine these 2 into one? Like, I don't get it. And there are like the Pippa and Gabe have like an extended family, Pippa's sister, and then Pippa's sister's wife, and just like there's a lot of other people here, but they're all developed in their own way. Like, they are all specific. It's like, it's almost as if I would believe that they were kind of built and written off of actual people the author knows. I don't know if that's true. I'm not saying that's true. But they just feel like real people to me, like flawed, normal, regular people. So I am really liking that about this so far. There's kind of like the story this, another thing is that this one's told from 2 different perspectives, and it also has like a flip-floppy kind of like now and then narrative. So like you'll go from Pippa to the character who is actually on the ledge. Like her name is Amanda, which that's not really a spoiler because I'm not telling you like anything about who she is, but just her name. And so you'll get Pippa's chapters and then you'll get Amanda's chapters, and they'll also be split between like Pippa then, Pippa now, and like Amanda then, Amanda now. So it's really interesting because not only is there like a dual timeline thing going on, but you also have dual characters. You're seeing situations and scenes from 2 points of view, which are kind of similar, but also very different. And it's very interesting. Okay, for example, so one thing I can say that I've read so far without spoiling too much, because this isn't really like a big part, but when we're in Pippa's point of view, we attend this like dinner party, like a business function. And when she's watching Gabe go through the room and like speak to people, she's like, he's like obviously the one who's like shining here. Like he's the one everybody has their eyes on. Like my husband is incredible. Like everybody loves him. Like look at how he's like working this crowd. Like he's fantastic. And the way she says it, like there's no doubt. Like it's like, okay, like this is what's happening. Like everybody's experiencing this too. But then you get Amanda's point of view of that exact same party, and she's watching her own husband, and she's like, it's obvious that he was the one who was like manipulating the room, and he was the one in charge of everything, and he was the one everybody looked up to, and he's like the golden guy, you know? I think it's really interesting because it's very true to life that you can have 2 different people in the same place experiencing something very similar, but like inside their internal monologue is completely different, and like the way that they're thinking things and the way that they're processing things completely different. And I mean, that's like a given, obviously everybody knows that that's how things work, but I think that that's something very interesting to explore in your narrative and in your book. So I'm really liking it so far. Yeah. So I feel like this could be like a single sitting sort of book because had I not had to sleep last night, I probably would have already finished it. So I think I'm gonna go do that now. I have a couple of errands to run. I need to go to the bank, which is a nightmare. I also have like a couple of other like small errands that I have to do before we get back to the car because we are still in the hotel right now. We have a couple more days here, so it's not like a huge rush, but I'm the kind of person that if I have like anything hanging over my head, I cannot focus and I can't do the things I need to do. It's really frustrating because like I want to draw or I want to read, but I'm like, no, you have to go to the bank. You have to go to the bank. You cannot do anything unless you've gone to the bank. It's so annoying, honestly. But yeah, so I'm probably gonna go to the bank. I will check back in here after I finish the book. Probably, I think, unless there's something else that happens again, but usually there's not. I don't know. These are probably boring vlogs because I'm kind of like a binge reader. I tend to just start a book and then finish it. I'm getting a little bit more used to stopping and like taking note of things and like filming these little bits, but it's still kind of like a work in progress that I'm getting used to it. So yeah, either way, I will check in at some point and then I will do my little vlog outro. So see you later. Hello. Okay, so this lighting is not great. I'm just gonna do a quick little check-in for this and then I will go over the books that I read in a different spot. I'll probably go back over there because I was like, let's just do something new so the whole video is not just me in front of a window. But now we have this. What's this bag doing under my eye? Like, that's not good for anyone. Okay, so I just finished the Soulmate. I really liked it. I think I would give it a 3.5 star rating, which probably doesn't convey how much I enjoyed it, but just there were things that I had issues with, and I just overall wish it were a little bit more thrilling, I guess. It was kind of slow. It was kind of slow and just like very focused on their domestic stuff and like infidelity and lies, and there was honestly a lot of like mental health stuff that I did not expect. And I don't always like, especially in like this kind of genre fiction, where mental health is used as like a twist or something to explain why a character is bad. I feel like this book actually handled that really well, which I would not have expected. I don't normally expect that from thrillers or domestic dramas, mysteries, whatever. I was very pleased by that. Like there's one point where one of the characters does something like kind of bad, and there's kind of like this talk about like the things that they're suffering with and like their mental, you know, issues, mental health issues, disorders and stuff. And the narrator and like the main person that's talking at that point is actually like, this is a problem, but it's a separate problem. Like he's still making the choices to do these things, so it's not, it can't all be blamed on this. And obviously there are some situations and factors where your choices are completely dependent on the thing that's happening in your brain. So it's not like you wouldn't be making those same choices, you know, in a different, if you were in like a right mind, which I'm saying what they said in the book. But I don't know, it was done better than I would have expected and better than I've experienced in other books in this kind of like wheelhouse of genre. So I did like that. Also, surprisingly, like, there were two characters that I wasn't super sold on and didn't really understand, like, didn't really like, but then by the end of the book, they became my two favorite characters, and it was, like, so touching and sad, like, tragic, and I got, like, emotional about it. So yeah, this, maybe I'll move it up to a 4-star, I think, actually, because I really did like it. And considering how, again, the rest of this reading vlog is gone, I'm so happy to have a book that I actually liked. So yeah, great, awesome, fantastic, recommend it. You should read this book. I mean, I already said a lot, because not much more happened that I wouldn't be able to say without spoiling, but suffice it to say, there were a lot more twists. Even still, like, from the point I read, like, halfway through, there had been a couple of twists. There were more. I still wouldn't count this as a thriller, though. Definitely a mystery, domestic drama, whatever. This would make an excellent Lifetime movie. Like, so good. If I was homesick from, like, school as a kid, I would have sat here watching this with my mom in bed and been like, oh my god, this movie's so good. You know, like, it was really good. The book was really good. Yeah, okay. Let me do the outro and get out of this terrible lighting situation. Okay, this is better. I think I'm kind of bright now. I don't know what to do about this. Okay, so now that I am pretty much exactly where I started this. Okay, so checking in, ending the vlog. I have read 4 books for this one, 4 books with water on the cover. I don't think any of them really scratched the itch that I had when I started this, of really wanting something like, I don't know, spooky but fun but thrilling, but in the water or on the water. I mean, these all had water on the cover and had something to do with water for sure, but I don't know, maybe the vibe I was going for is not the one that I got, I think. And that's not to say it hasn't been, like, okay to read these. A couple of them I didn't really like, but overall, I mean, it was a fun reading experience, and I've gotten 4 books read, so that's pretty good for me lately. So I'm not mad, but I don't know, I think I might have to do, like, a part 2 or something else. Like, these didn't really have, like, the summery vibe that I wanted, so we'll see. But to kind of recap the things that I read so far, the books I read for this were Something in the Water, which I did not particularly like, although I will say, after reading these other ones, especially after reading Deep Water, I think I might bump the rating for this one up, because it honestly wasn't that bad in comparison, which I guess you're probably not supposed to compare the books like that. But I mean, who says? It's my rules, right? Like, it's my video, it's my vlog, it's my rating. I'll do what I want, and I'm bumping that one up, saying I liked it more because of how much I didn't like Deep Water. So yeah, those are 2 of the books. I also read The Deep by Nick Cutter, which this one was what I expected. It was gross, it was fun, it was kind of spooky, and I also just feel like this one didn't give me the good watery vibes I wanted, only because it felt a lot more sci-fi. Like, if this had taken place in space, I definitely would have felt like it was right at home, and I wouldn't have gotten water vibes from that either. And I mean, I know it's weird, like, they are obviously underwater, like, the whole premise is that they're underwater, but it just didn't give me the feeling of, like, you know, deep sea exploration and scariness. And I'm a person who gets very scared by deep sea stuff. Like, I cannot handle water where you cannot, like, see the bottom of it. Like, it's just so dark. That's not for me. And I expected to be very creeped out, and I wasn't. So I still like the book, 4 stars, whatever, it's fine. Yeah, I'm not mentioning Deep Water again, because the 3rd book was Deep Water, but I've already mentioned that one, and sorry. And then the last one, The Soulmate, was an unexpected win for me. Like, I really liked this one. The more I think about this, the more I like it, which is cool. So yeah, not bad. Please let me know if you read any of these, if you like them, if you're gonna add them to your TBR based on anything that I've said. Especially the ones that you didn't like. I would love to hear if you liked them and why. And that's not like a challenge, like, tell me why you liked it, prove why you liked it. Like, I'm just curious what you liked about it, like Deep Water specifically. Like, what did you like, if you did? Can you explain that to me? All right, well, it's been fun. Thank you for hanging out with me. I will see you next time. Bye.